What's up everyone? Welcome back to our channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how I plan to build my 5-figure stock portfolio using eToro. I'm going to be running you through some of my investments, how I plan to build a 5-figure stock portfolio, and why I chose eToro as my broker of choice. By the end of this video, you'll be able to join me on my journey in building our 5-figure stock portfolios. I'll be giving you some examples of what companies to invest in and how dollar cost averaging will work to our benefit. Before we get started, I'd like to thank all of you for all of your support, and if you enjoy watching this video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We'll leave links to our social media channels so that you can get daily updates on saving, earning, and investing. So let's get started. Index funds are great investments, especially for beginner investors and those of you who don't want to put too much time to thinking about what they want to invest in. While I do have my fair share of investments in index funds through robo-advisors, I also like to pick good quality, high conviction stocks to invest in. It's almost like I'm building my own mini index fund. In a previous video, we talked about the best stockbrokers in Malaysia to invest in international stocks and why we choose eToro as our broker of choice. Let's take a look at what my eToro portfolio looks like right now. Currently, I have all of my investments split out across 12 different companies. While most of them are high quality stocks with good potential for future growth, I admit that I bought 2 companies that I hope will recover after being dumped so heavily during this virus. The 2 companies that I bought was General Electric and Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings. These companies are in the business of airlines and the cruise industry. They're heavily affected by this pandemic since there's less demand for air travel, and who wants to go on a cruise right now? Investments in these 2 companies may flop. However, a quick return to normalcy might give us some good returns over the next 2 or 3 years. I'm not holding my breath of this though, which is why I put only a small amount in these 2 companies. The other 10 stocks that I bought are in high potential growth companies such as Netflix, Snapchat, and C Limited. Currently, I've invested $650 in these stocks with an unrealized profit of $43. I also still have $391 left over for me to buy into more stocks, which brings my total eToro account to $1,084, roughly 4,700 ringgit. Not too bad I guess, but still I'm less than halfway there in achieving my goal of having a 5-figure stock portfolio or more than 10,000 ringgit. Now, let's get into how I plan to build from this measly 4,700 ringgit to a 5-figure stock portfolio and beyond using eToro. First up, I'll consistently be adding capital to my account. The most surefire way to build up your portfolio is to just keep adding money in. For starters, I plan to add around $50 every month, which translates to around 215 ringgit. Over time, I hope to increase this amount to $100 or 430 ringgit a month. To do this, I need to stretch my budget a bit though, so let's see. This is one of the main reasons that I prefer eToro over other US stockbroking companies such as Interactive Brokers and WeBull. These guys have their bank accounts in the States, meaning whenever we want to deposit money into our accounts, we have to do a foreign telegraphic transfer or a wire transfer to the United States to have our money into our account. For those of you who don't know, foreign telegraphic transfers can be very costly and can eat up a large percentage of your deposits, especially when they're just small amounts. Previously, I wired 4,200 ringgit into my Interactive Brokers account using CIMB, and CIMB charged me 10 ringgit for the entire transaction. So I thought to myself, that's not too bad, right? 10 ringgit? Well, I didn't know that the receiving bank, which is Interactive Brokers Bank, being Citi, also charged me a fee, being $25. That comes up to more than 100 ringgit for every deposit. Imagine that. After adding the fees from my local bank being CIMB and the receiving bank being Citibank, this brings my total fees of deposit to 120 ringgit. Now, how am I supposed to deposit 200 ringgit every month when I'm being charged 120 ringgit for every deposit that I make? It'll only make sense if I start saving up money first in my savings account, and once I have a large enough chunk, then I wire the money. I don't really like this option because my money will be just sitting idly in my savings account, generating less than 1% when it can be used to invest in stocks. Fortunately, eToro has local banks set up in Malaysia, meaning I can make online local bank transfers for my deposits. Of course, the Malaysian ringgit that you deposit will somehow need to be converted into US dollars. After doing some checking, it looks like eToro does this at spot rate, or also known more popularly as Google rates, which means we're getting a fair deal out of it. Let's say I manage to save up around 400 ringgit every month. This will lead to an increase in my portfolio by 4,800 ringgit over a year. Really nice start, right? Obviously though, I won't be just adding money every month in achieving my 10,000 ringgit portfolio goal. If I wanted to do that, I may as well just put it into another savings account and I'll be left with the same results, right? This then leads me to my second way of achieving this goal, which is generating good returns by investing in stocks with high conviction and high potential for long-term growth. Before we get started in point number 2, I feel like it's getting a bit dark in here. Let's turn the lights on. Perfect. When we put our money into investments, what we hope for is for this money to make babies and make us more money. I want to make sure that my money has the best genes so that they can produce the highest quality babies. Wait, that might have been a bit confusing. Essentially, I'm looking for high quality stocks in growing industries to be able to produce the good returns for me. Note those two keywords: high quality stocks, growing industries. These stocks will then lay the foundation for me to build on to my goal of achieving a 5-figure stock portfolio. My 3 top picks in terms of the best industries to invest in are as follows. First up, we have e-commerce companies such as Shopify, Sea Limited, Amazon, and Mercado Libre. Then we have digital payments companies like Adyen, PayPal, and Square. Lastly, we like cloud-based companies with subscription as a service models such as Adobe. I invest in these stocks because I believe that these guys are in industries that will help shape our future. I've always been an advocate for digitalization, and I feel that the transition from conventional way of work to the digital way of work has just been sped up by this pandemic. You can tell just by looking at the price of these stocks right now. A lot of stocks, as well as the market, is down by around 10 to 15%. However, some of the stocks that I mentioned are actually at all-time highs, which means that the pandemic has actually been good for them. If you want to see the examples in Malaysia itself, we can think about it in terms of what companies are there in this space. For example, in the terms of digital payment, who doesn't use Boost, Grab, or Touch and Go these days? I feel like nearly everyone does. In terms of e-commerce, I know a lot of you might not like to admit it, but use a lot of Shopee and Lazada ever since the MCO started. Don't lie. We can see the shift in trends of our Malaysian consumers. Don't assume that it's just us that is feeling this. Everyone else in the world is feeling the same. Now, it might not be the exact same companies, but it's the same industry. This is why we chose these companies to be a part of our entire portfolio. That sums up my 2-part strategy in building my 10,000 ringgit portfolio. The first part, which is adding more money on a monthly basis, will build up the vast majority in helping us achieve our goal. It's also something that we always preach, which is to always add into your investments regardless of market conditions. Whether you invested in robo-advisors or invested in individual stocks, there's no difference. Step 2, which is generating good returns through picking high quality stocks, will help me a bit in achieving this goal, but it really depends on how my investments perform. We should all know by now that short-term fluctuations don't deter us. We are long-term investors and we don't really care what Mr. Market has to say in the next 2 weeks or even 3 months. We only care what he has to say over the next 20 or 30 years. Now, let me bring you into why I chose eToro as my broker of choice in achieving this goal. The first thing that I'm going to be talking about is probably the number 1 feature that I look for in my brokers at this moment. This is eToro has low minimum trades and the ability to buy fractional shares. Because my starting capital is so small, I'm usually not able to buy many different stocks with just the amount of money that I have. Thank God for fractional shares then. It's basically a feature by eToro that allows investors to buy a portion of one share instead of only being able to buy round numbers. To illustrate this, let me show you how this works through my ownership of South American e-commerce company Mercado Libre. You can see that I opened my position when the stock was priced at $622 for every 1 share. Imagine if I was limited to only being able to buy round numbers of shares. If I wanted to buy this, it would eat up nearly 60% of my entire deposit. This leaves me with nearly nothing left to diversify my investments into other great companies. However, eToro allows me to buy fractional shares with minimum trades of only $50. So I decided to buy $50 of Mercado Libre shares at the price of $622, leaving me with 0.08 shares of Mercado Libre. Many may overlook this point, but I feel like this is something that is super important for a lot of investors, especially those with small capitals such as myself. As you start building towards having a portfolio worth 50 to 100,000 US dollars, maybe this would matter a bit less since you already have so much capital to start diversifying your portfolios. For now, this is probably the main feature that I look for in choosing my broker. It's the only reason that I'm able to buy 12 different companies with just 1,000 US dollars in capital. It's something great, and it's something that I probably can't live without right now. Secondly, is the ease of deposits and how cheap it is to deposit into my account. I talked about this earlier, so I won't go too deep into it. To recap, eToro has local Malaysian bank set up to accept deposits, meaning I don't have to pay any fees for wiring my money outside of Malaysia to deposit into my account. This is great as I like to invest on a monthly basis instead of saving up a lump sum and putting it in. The final thing that I want to talk about is eToro's CopyTrade functionality. CopyTrade is a neat little feature that allows investors copy other investors in terms of how much they buy, how much they sell, and when. Let me just give you an example of this. Let's say I have a friend John who has $200 ready to invest. He doesn't really know what stocks to buy and he sees me as a good investor. So he decides to put this $200 to copy me as a trader. I decide to buy $50 worth of Mercado Libre shares, which is around, let's say, 5% of my portfolio. Automatically, eToro will also open a 5% position for John in his $200 investment. When I decide to sell this position, he will also do the same. If I make money, he makes money. If I lose, he loses. Basically, I become a fund manager for my friend John. He trusts me with his money and he hopes that by putting in $200 with me, I'll be able to grow this over the short or long term. Now, I want to make it absolutely clear that I don't advise any of you to copy my investments. I don't have the confidence and I don't think that I know enough to be able to be trusted with your money. I'd feel so bad if I start losing people's money, and I know that I still need to learn so much more before I even consider this. Also, in this channel, we don't really want to spoon feed a lot of you. We want to just give you the concepts and ideas so that you'll take more research and decide on your own. Personally, I'm not entirely sold on this function myself. Maybe it's just my ego thinking, why would I need to copy someone else when I can just do my own research and buy companies that I truly believe in? Also, it'll take away a bit of the fun in investing, right? You don't get to choose your stocks anymore, someone else does it for you. I mean, you may as well invest in the S&P 500, I guess. Having said this, I might throw in $200, which is the minimum amount you can to copy other people's trades, just to see how it goes. To do this, you can scroll through a list of eToro's popular investors and take a look at what they invest in and what their investment philosophies are. If you like them and you trust them, you can always put your money and just try it out for a couple of weeks. After all, there are many investors/traders who participate in the forex market, the commodities market, and cryptocurrencies that I personally have no interest in currently. Maybe instead of going through the entire learning process for all these stuff, I'll just put in $200 and let someone do it for me. I mean, let's see what happens. It's a very cool feature and apparently it brings in a lot of new investors into eToro. To me though, this plays second fiddle to the first 2 points I mentioned, being ease of deposits and low minimum trades. If you're not comfortable putting your hard-earned money in it right now, you can also open up a demo account. This way you can try out the platform, see how it feels to buy and sell shares, and just get a feel of the whole thing. Once you're comfortable, you can put your money in and you can switch your demo account to a real account. No problem at all. I just thought it would be cool for me to share with you guys my goals in achieving a 5-figure stock portfolio, and I've set a date for myself, which is February of 2021. If you want to follow my updates, stay tuned to this channel. I'm excited to be on this journey, and if it just spurs one of you to follow me in this, then I'd be super happy. If you want to try out eToro for yourself, you can use our link down in the description below. So that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. If you want, you can follow us on Instagram or Twitter. I hope you guys have a good one. We appreciate all of you and see you on the next one. Peace out.